thank my friend Mr. Nishit Desai for giving me this opportunity, and thank all of you for joining in. I think this is we're talking about employment. I'll come to it, but probably one new employment opportunity has arisen is probably for those who will be doing this type of video conferencing. This will be a new job opportunity because we'll not be going there, so we'll be finding the opportunity. You know, this is a very interesting topic, and I think if you permit me, I will just not speak about the current one, but just look at the historical perspective and what the future holds for us. One is, if you really look at it, ever since we have been living on this planet as human beings, uh, initial many thousands of years, we were living as hunters, gatherers, foragers. So therefore, we were all self-employed. We were doing everything that needed to be done by ourselves. If you look at it, there's no concept of employment, but everybody was living to make sure that he takes care of his own livelihood. And that depended that depended on many things. Your ability to work, your hard work that you want to put in. If you want to gather more, you could go out and gather more. If you want to hunt more, you could hunt more. There was a plenty of prey available anyway. So this was actually left to individual's ability. But there was no concept of storage. In a sense, there's nothing like I want to create more um, I want to hunt more so that I can save it for the next generation. There's no concept of that because there was something which probably wanted to keep it for the next day, next few days. That's all because it couldn't even last. Then, of course, we shifted from there, and as people say, this great book of *Sapiens*, a very remarkable statement on that is that fire changed the whole thing. When the fire was discovered, that changed the entire approach toward life because then you could cook, you could do so many things. And even then, I would not go into all that part of it. But initially, in our existence on this planet, there was no concept of employment. We were all living for livelihood and we were doing that. Not going to much of detail, but when agriculture started, then probably you needed not necessarily employment, but you needed partnerships because you, as alone, you cannot do many things. So there was, when the agriculture was developed, agriculture was invented, discovered, or invented rather, you could then think about how do you do agriculture in the most efficient way. Then we realized that probably if we join hands, we can do much better. So though we always attribute commune farming to communism, probably commune farming started even those days. And people realized that if you work together, then we can do better things together. But even then, that's also far cry. Basic change probably is few years, few decades, or few centuries before industrial revolution and what happened subsequent to industrial revolution. Few centuries before industrial revolution, after the post-agriculture phase, people had enough food to eat. They didn't have to go out and start hunting that much. They, of course, were hunting, but they could start store food. That means they became from nomadic, they settled down. After they settled down, they had more time. So they had more food to eat, so they didn't have to spend all the time going and finding out animals to hunt. So then they started, probably, is to manifest their inner thinking, inner feeling. And then we develop the artisans, the craftsmen, and therefore the economy previous to industrial revolution, post-agriculture revolution, was also sometime to deal with the artisans. That's how the different kind of new developed art and culture was used by here and then was also exported. into different parts of the world. But that was also a source of livelihood, which became like that. Post-industrial evolution, something very dramatically happened. We discovered machines of the type that needed to be worked and we could do mass production. Mass production needed more people. So the concept of employment per se evolved in a very significant way post that phase. And we had therefore to take care of machines, we needed men, and then men created machines and machines needed men. And therefore that relationship developed and we had a lot of people after that being employed in that sense of the term. Whenever we had a activity like this, it's not that before industrialization there was no employment, there was. But the concept of employment, the nature of employment changed dramatically. It's a very interesting thing. When the railways came, and they came to UK, the horsemen, horse cart drivers, they were thinking that they're going to be unemployed. Because now the railway comes, so what happens to us? We are the only ones, the carriage operators, which were taking people from one place to another. Now this is going to happen, so we are finished. What happened was, interestingly, that the fear was ill-founded, as was proved subsequently. The railways created more jobs than the jobs that were lost. So the displacement happened, but the replacement was far bigger. And therefore, we never realized and we never worried about what happened at that particular time, but it really benefited immensely. Now, post that phase, in the last several, say, at least few hundred years, we are now seeing that the economies of the world has undergone a sea change. And you mentioned, Nishit Bhai, very correctly, is the concept of services has become more important. In the United States, the largest economy of the world, steel workers, very powerful lot of organized labor. In fact, there was a time when the workers will decide the nominee for the Democratic Party, and even in the UK actually, the Labour Party even has a constitution wherein the unions have a say to choose the leader of the Labour Party who becomes then Prime Minister or the leader of opposition. But the unions became strong because there are many laborers, and in United States, the steel workers, very strong body. The automobile workers were very strong because you need a steel for automobiles also. So both industries were very powerful. And as you know, the United States has more cars than any other country in the world. Till China is trying to overtake them or already overtaken them. But steel workers had a fixed job. Blue collar workers, as they're called. The workers working in the shop floor had a fixed job, fixed pay. They will get the pay at the end of the month. And because they're unionized, they'll get holidays, they'll get pension, they will get whatever was decided between the employer and the employees. But they had a fixed tenure, fixed job. Then came a phase when the service industry, as Nishit Bhai mentioned, wherein the service sector employees were not in the same category. They were working not necessarily on some contract which was unionized for them. This was not a contract, the terms were not decided by a collective body of individuals. They were hired by shops, small shops or others, and they had to decide and bargain with them. Of course, there was a concept of minimum wage, so they had to be paid up at least that much. But beyond that, and then working hours probably were decided by the law of the land, and therefore that regulated it. But generally, it was not a unionized kind of workers that were deciding. Collective bargaining was not there, and therefore this was the case. Very interestingly, these kind of jobs were hourly jobs. If you work for a few hours, we'll get so much, we'll get the pay as was decided between the employer and the employee. Interestingly, these jobs were called as MAC jobs because typically this kind of jobs started with McDonald's, wherein hourly payments was made. somebody wants to do even evening few hours, it was possible. The students could go out of the campus and do these jobs and go back to the university the following day and come back again. So these kind of jobs are called MAC jobs, which are hourly jobs. Now, if you look at it, therefore the type of jobs people get and the employment has changed over a period of time. Coming to India, in India today, employment is a big issue. Obviously, country of 1.3 billion people, employment is a big issue. China is a big issue because same number of people, little more, but almost the same profile of jobs. Therefore, China addressed that issue by getting into labor intensive, low cost manufacturing after say about 35 years ago. After 78, when they started, first Shenzhen Special Economic Zone was created. Then all around the coastal areas, they created this. Large number of people migrated, and they said that this was a bigger long march than what Mao started in before 1949. And large number of people migrated, thanks to Deng Xiaoping, that they migrated from interiors of China into the coastal areas in search of these manufactured jobs, which are low cost manufacturing, high labor intensive manufacturing. So it could absorb large number of jobs. In case of India, we have been facing this issue for some time now, that the India jobs, or I will call it employment, and I think we need to, at this point of time, necessary to decide why you need employment. Employment for livelihood. You want jobs so that you can earn money, run your household. Some people are lucky, like in the US, some people get millions of dollars. So they don't have the livelihood issue. But for you and me, the job is necessary for livelihood. To take run of families, save something for the rainy days, save something for the future, particularly when we are not going to work. Therefore, you need that money, like old age. Nishit Bhai doesn't have that problem, but I have that problem. And therefore, situation like that is necessary. So, job, employment is for livelihood essentially. Now, in India, the large number of the livelihood providing employment opportunities comes from agriculture. Most people are earning their livelihood from agriculture. In India, though agriculture is less than 20% of GDP, it, agriculture, when we say agriculture, it includes horticulture, it includes fisheries, it includes dairying, and all other things. All of this is more than 60% for the people who are dependent on agriculture and they earn their livelihood out of it. That includes farm laborers, that includes those who are doing family farming and all of that. So the entire family works on the field, husband, wife, kids, and they earn their livelihood. The other segment of employment opportunity in India, which is manufacturing. Incidentally, manufacturing is only 16% of India's GDP, but it provides those blue collar jobs which people always want to get into because that gives you a better regular family income. Then again, because of union and support from labor laws, you can get something for sure. Then the third segment is one is agriculture, I said, most of it, industry. The third segment is services. Services are more than 60% of India's GDP. Very interestingly, agriculture offers 60% of livelihood opportunities, but less than or it's about 17%, 14, 15% of the GDP. Whereas services, which is 60% of GDP, more than 60%, but job opportunities are less, more than obviously the industry, but far less than agriculture. The future will have one interesting scenario. Jobs will be more in the service sector, as Nishit Bhai pointed out, and industry, which is 16% of GDP today. And I had prepared a strategy of taking India's industry to $1 trillion, which will be from taking from 16% to 20% of the GDP. And then not necessarily will be able to add 25% more job, because 16% to 25, you add 25% more, does not necessarily mean we'll have that much job. Because automation, new technology will be so high that the job opportunities may not be as high as we would like it to be in case of manufacturing. So manufacturing or industry will have to work towards increasing the GDP, share of manufacturing and industry to GDP, but not necessarily it will add jobs commensurate with the number that will be adding to the GDP. Because as I said, for technology. Agriculture, is people are dependent on agriculture and doing this. There is a National Sample and Statistical Organization survey. It said most, at least half of the people in agriculture, they want to leave agriculture. Why? Because first, uncertainty, vagaries of nature, not necessarily the social status that employee working in a industry or service sector will get, and not necessarily the kind of hard work that agriculture has to do, because from morning till evening you're working on the field and in difficult temperatures you work. So people want to do that. So services seems to be the only way it can absorb people who want to leave agriculture. As I said, industry will not be able to absorb so many. The only sector, therefore, that can be absorbed is in services. Interestingly, services has already done that in the past. You look at job opportunities, particularly when we became independent, the only job was employment, was government, then became private sector, which grew quite a bit, particularly after 1991. And so there were only two main opportunities. Either you go to government or private sector. Very interestingly, the government was providing jobs for, say, police. So the police may not have been recruited in the same number as were recruited in the past, but there were security guards were recruited in the private sector. What government did not do in the security space, the private sector filled in. The government may not have employed more people in the post as they were doing in the past. But as Nitish Bhai said, courier boys came in. The courier industry developed. The only one Doordarshan was there as mass media, as television channel. They didn't employ that many, but so many new news channels came up. India has probably more than 300 plus news channels, maybe 700 total TV channels. So that means they employed more. So what is important is that jobs and employment opportunity were created somewhere else. There's no concept was a delivery boy, so called. There's nothing, because, and I'm much older, so therefore I can tell you, if I told my grandmother that I'm going to go and eat outside, she'll be extremely angry with me. What do you mean? You don't have a house? Do you mean me or your mother cannot cook food for you? Why you should go out to eat? But today, if I tell my son that only place that you can eat food is your own house, he'll start laughing at me. And now he doesn't have to even go out to eat to a restaurant. He can get whatever he wants to get from any of the restaurant that he likes, will be delivered to him at home, and that's how the delivery boys came up. So the lifestyle of the people has changed. Lifestyle has changed. The lifestyle change has created new opportunities. Like, we could never imagine that I will sit at home and I can get anything that I want. I don't have to even go outside. Like, for example, if there was a conference to be organized like this 20 years ago, the only way we could do is that we have to go to Nishit Bhai's office or Nishit Bhai wherever he has organized. That's the only way you could attend a conference. Today we don't have to even step out of the house to talk to each other. So lifestyle has changed. In future, you will see the lifestyle change is going to offer many opportunities. And those opportunities will come in many, many areas. One could not imagine that entertainment and media industry can offer so many jobs. You could never imagine. And they are not only they are well paid, if not all, many of them, and they are a glamour is attached to that. Because my wife, who's a journalist for 35, 40 years, when she used to write, at best she'll get a byline in a newspaper. She used to work for Times of India, she used to do all investigative stories. But only thing that she will be identified with is a byline that Uma Kedi Prabhu has written this story. But today you can see the face of the person who is giving you news. So glamour is attached to it. So type of lifestyle change, where now you want to get more news, you want to understand more, then you want to entertain, get yourself entertained better. So entertainment industry has grown. In fact, in most of the developed world, entertainment industry offers many, many jobs, millions. Directly those who entertain, the backstage, those who actually relate, many, many, millions of jobs. So this is something which has happened because of lifestyle change. People have money, so they want to spend on it, they want to get into it. So in future you will see that people will now be, new opportunities will be developed in many areas in the service sector, not so much in agriculture, not so much in industry, but in service sector. Of course, services cannot grow independent of either industry or agriculture. So, for example, when you want to transport food to your house from the field, so field to market, the link which is necessary will happen through what? Through transportation. What is transportation? The service sector. When you want to make some product in shop floor, you need raw material to be transported there. What is that raw material? Transportation. That is also service. Because you are doing so many things, you need more insurance. What is insurance? Is a service sector. But insurance, what are you insuring? There should be an underlying asset, underlying activity that you are insuring. So therefore, service sector will keep growing, but cannot grow independent of either industry or agriculture. So they have to also have a strong, robust growth for service sector to grow. But in future, you will see many opportunities like this artificial intelligence, blockchain technologies, Internet of Things, big data. All of this will also offer job opportunities. They will create more opportunities, not necessarily in the same proportion in which the displacement took place. I give an example of railways and the horse cart toss. There was a different that the horse cart drivers lost jobs, but they were fewer in number than the people who benefited from the railways. I don't know right now whether that would happen, but the innovations will happen. The derivative products from these technologies will create more jobs. For example, artificial intelligence itself may not create jobs because artificial intelligence again is not an independent activity. It has to be applied somewhere. If it is applied on Medicare, then Medicare will create more jobs. So therefore, you will see more jobs coming into India in the service sector as we go along. Now, we have to understand service sector jobs are not necessarily should be confined only to India's context. Japan, Korea, Europe are aging populations. People there will need care at old age. We as Indians, young population, trained population, probably more inclined towards helping others. That's a part of our ethos. We can actually help and offer that service to the people in a more efficient manner. Service sector jobs will not necessarily be only confined to this. I will give an example. My wife runs an NGO called Manav Sadhan Vikas Sanstha, where she has trained more than 1 lakh people, 100,000. Now she's working on training people for to be employed. She also runs a nursing college separately. So she is now trying to train people to be employed as nurses and other services for overseas market. So just imagine the opportunity. This is a completely NGO, so she's not doing anything for profit, but for motivation, she's doing that. These kind of jobs will be created. Will be opportunity will be available. I'll give an example. How do you identify them? Now the question will be, these are the macro level. How do you do it on the grassroots level? As a commerce industry minister, I started a program called district-led growth. I appointed National Council for Applied Economic Research and Indian Institute of Management to take 6 districts. One in the east, which is Muzaffarpur in Bihar. Second, in north, Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh. In south, Visakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh. In Maharashtra west, in Sindhudurg Ratnagiri. The idea is, let us study the district and find out how can this each district grow at 3 to 4% more than what it is normally growing. The reason is, if you can grow at 3 or 4% more, obviously all districts grow 3 or 4% more than the normal growth. India will be growing at 3 or 4% more because all the 620 districts of India together makes India's GDP. When we started doing this, you'll not believe it. And this already a lot of work was done till I was a minister. You'll be very surprised. The revelation was so enormous that there are so many jobs in each of the service sector, small manufacturing, small agriculture, which were not even thought of. The advantage is the jobs will be locally created, locally serviced, so people don't have to even leave the place. So just imagine the new world, and this has started even before the COVID started. But the idea was, can we make locally driven growth possible? This is a great opportunity. So this is something which we should do it all India basis, study each and every district, find out what is necessity in the district, what are the natural resources available in the district, what is the local talent available in the district, what kind of training we need to give to them. And as I said, I have the personal experience because we are, through our NGO, we have trained more than 1 lakh people for self-employment. So this is something which can actually change the entire atmosphere. Why? Because jobs and employment are two different things. The second aspect, and that is again unique to India, a Prime Minister started Skill India program. Skill India offers the opportunity that because Startup India is something which will create new jobs. Why you need job, as I said, to begin with? Because you want to be earning livelihood. Earlier, you had to go and be employed. But today, through startup, you can be self-employed and can employ more people. This is going to be a new dimension. So not necessarily employment would be the kind of employment that we had in the past, but a new change, the paradigm shift will create more job opportunities for the people, and that can be a great game changer. This can happen more. Of course, now all of this, we have to now think in different perspective because of the new changes that are going to happen as a result of this COVID. Globalization and its new meaning will have to be understood as we go along. It's difficult to say today how will it evolve, but it has to evolve. Secondly, the type of sectors that we are thinking will create jobs. I was aviation minister, and I was thinking that we could create 500,000 jobs in aviation. We'll add more. Now the aviation is in trouble. They will lose something like $250 billion globally as lost revenues. But that type of sector we have to take into consideration. And therefore, you will see that service sector, and I agree with Nishit Bhai completely, will be a new employment and job creator. But as I said, again, I repeat that point, that jobs, employment will change its perspective, its nature, its characteristic in the years to come. It has already changed, but it will even change more as we go along. That doesn't mean we have to worry, because I gave an example how we started as a human race. We are doing something different, and over a long period of time, millions of years, at least a million years, we have changed ourselves so much. So this is not to worry that what is going to happen after COVID. It is going to be different. That's why fear of unknown. But I am very sure that we can tide over it and we can win from it if we strategize it. We cannot win for it just by wishing that I should win. We have to work hard and make it plan, strategize, put all our efforts into play. But I think that can really help us to not only get over it, but probably help us to win from it. So let us work on that. I'm very happy that we are discussing the issue. I think in some future sessions, I like to even give particularly the perspective about each sector, how it can really grow. But anyway, I really appreciate this. I will stop here so that we can have at least 10-15 minutes for question answer. So Nishit bhai, if you permit me, I'll stop here. Once again, thanking you for this.